For this session, I'm going to be while I'm going to be talking about the new release, VantagePoint version 16.1. I want to emphasize a theme that's kind of threaded its way through the entire new version of the application, and that is the idea of future-proofing VantagePoint. Um, so, what do I mean by future-proofing? Uh, Things like being able to handle a wider range of APIs. The benefit to you is that the list of API enhancements or fusions with other databases has been growing over time, and I'll get into the list of what we have currently in this new release. Also, when you target or decide which API to use, we are trying to give you guidance as to which field is the right field to search to make sure that you can pull in the data from whatever source that you're targeting. We've really tried hard not to be affected by changes in Windows operating system. That in the past has created issues for us, and we've modernized a lot of things within the application. We have a dedicated browser within VantagePoint, and it's really allowing us to improve the user interface and really not worry about changes that are happening outside in the environment of the operating system. As another benefit, we've completely revamped our exporting capabilities of our images, which you'll find very helpful. We've improved the way memory and resources are allocated in general, but especially where you have these very large VPT files that have multi-sheets to them, many sheets to them. And also, and this is important, we've really been focusing on your requests to our customer request and added additions from open source libraries. And you've seen that with the addition of the D3 data visualization capability. Our graphics have been enhanced over time, and that's going to grow because of it. And also the ability to export into Excel and build Excel files, and you'll see that with our profile tables. So yeah, the idea is to really offer VantagePoint in such a way that as things change outside the application, we're not affected. And I think your installs, everybody's environments vary from company to company, and I think this is going to benefit you as well. So just to kind of throw this into some visuals around what's going on with the application, you'll notice the title of this slide is, what is your favorite font? And you can add whatever font you want to data and to the ribbon. I've kind of made it whimsical just to kind of catch your eye, but I'll get into this as we demonstrate, just changing this through options of the application. So import, we've added the API capability, enhanced it. So the range of API imports are growing, and as I've noted here, please send us your requests, and we build these APIs per your requests. That's part of our support. It's no additional cost. So if you have APIs that you would like to explore with this capability, by all means, let us know. Contact our help desk. We're also allowing you to follow the data history. So we released file history, or I should say field histories capability, I don't know, a couple of releases back. It's getting better and better, and with the ability to pull data down from another source through an API, that is being tracked within the field history function within this tool now. And then when I talk about better guidance, just to illustrate, this is the OpenAlex DOI API or a link over to OpenAlex. And it automatically populates the particular field that we recommend to search, and it gives you some instructions. So depending on which API that you pull down from the dropdown, will give you instructions as to what to do next. You'll notice the red on the second tab. OpenAlex requires an email, so can't go any further without an email. So that's another kind of factor that we've included with this implementation. And over here, this is the list. So we've added clinical trials. We had the PMC API. This is the citation data from European PMC that you can then supplement to PubMed data. PubMed data, OpenAlex, and then information being pulled down from PASTAT, the standardized assays of PASTAT, as well as the IPC indicators of PASTAT. So this is an area that further releases you'll see just greater additions to. So there's added capabilities with regard to hyperlinks. You can build that into the import filter. We actually have it built into our PubMed import filter. This example here is just illustrating that, and you can right-click and actually open the link. And you no longer have to unzip your zip files that you're downloading from your search results in these larger sets of records that you're downloading. So in the refine area, we've enhanced the ability to give you on the fly capability with creating links. So you'll notice the publication number, the further processing, the create link, choosing the patent number. This takes you over, the link will take you over to a SPOSnet, and then allows you to basically generate an active link that when you alt click, you can follow the link over to the actual document in the browser. The ability to merge. Now, merging was somewhat temperamental in the past, and this graphic here is a little bit of an exaggeration just to kind of illustrate the point. But if you think about an existing thesaurus and being merged with a new cleaning. In this case, we have Hershey and Mars. Lo and behold, General Mills jackpot managed to acquire, and we placed them under General Mills. Previously, they were under Kraft Foods. And when you merge the data, you'll notice that the merging of two thesauruses identifies these companies, Hershey's and Mars, being associated with either General Mills or Kraft Foods. And you can decide basically by checking and unchecking boxes which of the particular entities the companies should go under. In this case, General Mills. Just to kind of give you a larger kind of impression of this function. This is the interface or the window that pops up, allowing you to check and so forth. And you can't see this very well on the next slide, is more visual. But these can be very long lists. Or some of our customers really take full advantage of this thesaurus building capability, and this is really important. So I just pulled this from the help file just to kind of give you a sense of the amount of merging that can go on when you're building these larger thesauruses, and the ability to see a big picture of what's happening, being able to interact and decide which term goes with which entity, and also being able to decide on selecting all or not, and also copying your trees and so forth to Excel if you need to share this with colleagues and get their insights. The other thing is we've enhanced grouping within the refine area. Uh, Grouping, if you open up the edit grouping function, you'll notice the edit grouping function within the refine area. We've added the ability to work with complementing under or and. Before it was just basically if you right click on a group, you can generate the inverse of the group, which is basically everything that's not grouped in your data. In this instance, you are able to either pick and choose groups that you would like to complement or pull them together or look at the and about these items. In this case, I've decided to pick all three. And it gives me the new name of the group, and it ends up looking like this. So these were the groups that I had and selected when I added the complement. It basically gave me this new group that I can identify, and it's really useful when you think about, okay, I've grouped my data and I'm curious to see what is left to group. And so in being able to identify through this complement function, it helps you identify what hasn't yet been grouped within your analysis. Um, so in Analyze, the concept grid, I'm just showing you an image of our sample data to really encourage you to work with this function. It's very useful for generating categories and subcategories. And you'll notice these actually end up identifying groups with these names: purified water, ingredients, raw material. But it's very interactive within the VantagePoint, being able to open up these and seeing the 337 documents. Of those, the subcategories of maybe sugar, under purified water, and so forth. So this is a process that really is quite useful in terms of allowing our systems to cluster information, which is then categorizing based on that clustering. Um, we've improved the way we handle categorizations, subcategories, and so forth. You'll notice importing and exporting. We have subcategories as well as main categories. This has been retained within the export, and then is basically if you have an in-house taxonomy, you're able to take that to the level of your taxonomy, having a category and a subcategory, and import that into the categorization, the classification system, and use that. And so that's quite handy. And then reports. The profile table that we've really enhanced last release is now even better. We are able to rearrange the columns, move them around, and so forth. If I go to click on the gear to templates, it opens up the template area, and you'll notice that my columns here, they look like rows, but I can move them around and adjust the column order, and then take this out in Excel and share it in an Excel file. The cluster maps now are dynamic. Not showing this, I can demonstrate it here in a minute, but if I were to click this, you'd be able to look the changes over time. And also we've added this ability to show the path of the changes over time. You'll notice I'm looking at the inventor counts per record on average, and then IPC. So the thought is how many, if there are a lot of IPCs, how many inventors are involved in producing um, a more complicated invention based on the fact that there are many IPCs. But in any case, the cluster maps capability has been enhanced. And then I just wanted to emphasize some of the ways that we support you in terms of basically using these functions and learning more and contacting us. There's that gear. That gear in all of our graphics allows you to edit the graphics, change the colors, change the font size, and so forth, and also added functionality. As for example, if I just go back, this functionality and adding these paths is something that you can turn off and on through the gear. Um, and then there's bug fixes. Curious about all the bug fixes that we have in 16.1. It's in the release notes, and then our VantagePoint help file. So with that, I just want to kind of jump over to the tool and just illustrate some of this functionality, and then we can open up the questions. So here we are. You'll notice the fonts have been changed up in the ribbon, as well as in the data. If I look at the dead or alive, this is PAT-based data. You'll see that the font of the data, it carries through within the lists and the matrix and so forth. Now I'm going to just take this back to square one and put it on the default. So this functionality is under options, and if I select options, I'm going to go to the tabs, and you'll see here change font, basically the interface font, mainly the headers and so forth, um, and also the data fonts primarily. And we'll just reset those and then click OK. And back to ground, it's back to where we started. So, with that said, let's just kind of walk through some of these other features. The ability to look at the API functionality. I'm going to do that through this PubMed data. Let me unfilter this and go up to refine, and you'll notice augment data. And the API functionality is under add fields to from online database. And so once we open this up, this drop down shows you the various APIs that are offered. And you'll notice if I pick the PMC, it tells you that you should be querying the PubMed ID. And also it says which fields would you like to add to the data, and you can select them, or you can just basically go with all of them. So this is very handy, and again, let us know if there's others that you would like to explore. I'm not going to run this, just give you a sense. The outcome is this added data. And if I wanted to know the history of this, I can open up through view field history, and you'll see here this was imported and it basically used the PMC API. So if you ever wonder where your data is coming from, and that is true in general for all information within tracking the field changes using the field history capability. So that's that. And then hypertext linking, if I open up, you'll see that, again, just going back to this link here, if I right click, you'll notice that there is a open hyperlink here. And then I can just see what's basically the linking out on the web if you have access to the web. Uh, if I go to PatBase and just illustrate the further processing, the ability to add links to patent numbers. If I go through, I'm going to filter to the number fields. I'm going to open up the publication numbers and just make a list of numbers. And with this list, my further processing capability is active. You'll notice create link, and it takes us over to a SPOSnet. There's a sound I'm hearing. Is that it's built this new field. If I now open it, and I can just alt click, and this will then take me over to the SPA data that I believe is being added here. So, and here's your record. So, okay, so with that, we'll show some just capability with regard to the Thesaurus building. If I go over to my list of assignees, and I'm going to go to assignees, oops, and open them up, you'll notice that I have this list here that hasn't been cleaned. If I go to list cleanup, open that up, and I'm going to add a thesaurus just to make the cleaning faster here. And I have a thesaurus basically here. And if you imagine this data, I've cleaned it, and I want to merge it with a thesaurus here. If I take and go save as thesaurus, and I'm going to add it to my original thesaurus, it's going to ask me to merge, and this is where it gives me these variations, and I can pick and choose which company this is going to go with, and so forth, and so on. So that's just basically that function within the system. Just quickly going over to the cluster sheet, I illustrated that, but if I go back over to just close this out here. And just go over to the summary sheet and open up the concept grid. Here, just again, the concept, especially the secondary, the subcategories have been improved, and interacting with this data again, just being able to look at the titles and use the detail windows and so forth, has been just enhanced, and we recommend that you work with that. There is the just the subcategories that I show that in my deck, and being able to work with the profile table. So if I just go over to, I believe, drop down here, I've built the profile table here. Uh, and if for whatever reason I wanted to change the order, you'll notice going into the gear, pulling up the template, and then moving the charts around so that it gives me a sense of basically where this all rearranges and so on. And also keep in mind exporting to Excel. So I'm just going to look at sample table, just overwrite, yes, and allow you to just see the output of these different profiles. And this is a profile of the top 15 patent assinees in this plant-based meat information. So you see it's built here, and so on. And then lastly is I just click over here, back over to the tool, and let's look at just the scatter plots. So if I just take, you'll notice the scatter plot here. If I wanted to see these relationships over time, I can either manually look at that um, by clicking the forward and backward arrows, Or if I just wanted to look at it dynamically, the little arrow, I can see how it changes over time. Okay. So keep in mind, this is again just show year path. If that's clicked, it shows the year path and so forth. So that's about it.